Hello there. In this video, I'm going to talk you through how you can record all of your meetings in your company with AI, then generate automated summaries, action items, transcripts using an AI agent, and then using those, whatever's talked about in the meeting, to possibly do things like create tasks in your CRM, automatically generate proposals, and basically trigger any sort of action you want depending on how your business operates. Now, before I jump into it, if you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Adam. I started as a freelancer on Upwork, completed over 50 projects there and got a lot of experience over 4 or 5 years before I transitioned to developing my own software development agency, which has completed over 250 projects for people all across the world. In addition to that, I'm a genuine low code and AI enthusiast. I'm always at the forefront of what's new and what's happening, trying to figure out ways that we can build better solutions for our clients and also for our internal systems. Now, without further ado, I will jump in and I'm going to talk about it in 3 separate steps so that you understand how you can actually integrate this into your business. Step 1 is we obviously need to record these meetings with some sort of AI agent or recording so that we can generate a transcript from the meetings. Now, there's many tools out there that can do this. And if you're someone, I personally use Google Meet for all of our business calls, but if you use Zoom or something else, there's a million tools out there. The one that I like to use for this use case is Fireflies.ai. And the reason for that is because it actually triggers a webhook, which is basically a notification that you can use to automate things in your business once a meeting transcript has been completed. So this is my favorite tool of choice. That being said, you can use almost any tool as long as it exposes some sort of API, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But you can also use Google Workspace's built-in recordings and things like that, because what that actually does is it creates a file in your Google folder. And so you can set up triggers when new files are added to the Google folder. We can grab the transcript and we can do whatever we want with it in N8N, which is where we're going to be creating this automation. But I'm going to assume that you're using Fireflies.ai for this example. So you're going to want to set it up with your email so that it jumps in and records all of your meetings. And from there, what we want to do is we want to come down to the settings tab. We want to go down to the AI settings and we want to add a webhook. And so what you can see here is it goes receive real-time notifications with webhook events. So what's going to happen is after you jump on a meeting, it usually takes 5 or 10 minutes. It generates a transcript of exactly what was said in the meeting. So what we're going to do is we're going to send that to a webhook, which you can see here, and it's got a little password, and I'll show you how to set that up in a second. But we're gonna get a nice notification in our N8N automation here once that's generated. Now, if you're not familiar with N8N, it's a very similar tool to things like make.com or Zapier, if you've heard of those. They're really common automation tools. The reason we use N8N and not one of the competitors is because of these AI agent modules, which you can see right here. The way these AI agents are built in N8N is really easy to work with. And the main benefits we use it here is because, as you can see, it's separated the AI agent into its 3 categories. And whenever I refer to an AI agent, I say there's 3 things that build an AI agent. There's your knowledge base, which is the documents or the knowledge that you've provided to the assistant to help it formulate its output. There's the assistant instructions, so what you're actually telling the AI agent to do. And then there's the large language model, or the LLM. And as you can see here, it's nice and easily broken down so that if we wanted to possibly change the LLM, let's say, for example, a new LLM came out, for example, the whole DeepSeek saga, and you wanted to quickly change from GPT-4o to some DeepSeek model, it's much quicker and easier to do that in N8N, and it's really fluid how you can test a bunch of different LLMs. And I really like the way that the AI agents are built, which is why we do it here. Now, let's run an example and actually trigger and set this webhook up. Now, the way you can do this without having to jump on simulated meetings just to set up your webhook is if you go to this uploads field, you can actually upload a video, and what it's going to do is it's going to generate a transcript and then trigger that webhook once the transcript has been generated. Keeping note that it's not going to return any participants because it's not a meeting, it's a video. So some of the fields will be empty, but it's just an easy way to set up the webhook so that when you do actually jump on a meeting, you've pre-initialized all the fields that are going to come through this workflow. So I'm going to browse files, and I'm going to upload a video of one of my friends teaching some football content. Now, this typically takes about 30 seconds. What we need to do before we get this working is we need to come down and we need to make sure that it's going to the test webhook. So you'll see here we've got webhook test and just webhook. So what I've got to do is quickly put webhook test in here, hit save. And what will happen is we will see an execution run. Now, if you're going to set this up yourself for the first time, you want to come down to editor. You want to make sure that this field has your webhook test version in it. And then you want to click test workflow. And as this uploads, which is happening 15 seconds or so, once it's transcribed, it's going to trigger this workflow and you'll see that it goes green as it comes through each of the steps. Now, I'm waiting for an execution. Look at this page. Cool, so we've seen it's come through. It's running right now, live. Cool, and it ran through. So let me walk you through what the actual automation is now. So this is step 2, which is setting up the actual automation in a platform like N8N. So you can see here we've got the webhook, and this is the data or the payload that's come through to the webhook. And what we've done, the first request we've made is the Fireflies get recording request. Now, what I'll do is I'll make all of this completely available as a template in my completely free community. So if you want this and you don't want to have to set this up yourself, if you just come down and join that community, it'll be in the courses section there, and you can get all of these materials completely for free. So we make a request to the Fireflies.ai GraphQL endpoint. Now, if you want to set this up yourself and you're familiar with how to set up APIs, you can just go to Fireflies API and they're going to explain exactly how you can query all of this data. But I've set it up here so that what we've done is in the request, we got the meeting ID, which is this here. So we've sent a request off to Firefly to get more information about that ID. So you can see here, we've got things like participants, which is empty because it's not a meeting, but we've got the transcript URL, the audio URL. Now what the transcript URL for is great is we can actually put that into our browser and we come in and we can see it in Firefly's nice UI, a bunch of other information on here that could be really cool to look at. We get all of this, but then you can see what we're getting is the speakers and the sentences. So you can see here, it's transcribed all of the text in the video and it's broken it down into sentences. So we can grab all of that data. You can see here, all of that data, and we can now use that to understand exactly what was being discussed in the meeting. So this is where we can then send that data to an AI agent. And what we can do is we can say, as you can see here, analyze the meeting and extract a detailed summary of the meetings and create a list of action items. Use emojis where necessary in the action items and make these very readable. And we've sent it the transcript and we've gone, here's an example summary, here's example action items, example notes. So we've given it some examples so it knows what to kind of look for. And here's the summary. In the meeting led by Coach Tom, discussion focused on blah, 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 some tactics, talked about Liverpool and Chelsea. Action items. So you can see here, this is really helpful for being able to store meeting information in different projects. So if you work in a company, you work on a number of different projects, you might jump on a number of meetings, and at some point you might want to possibly think about meetings that you had a month ago, 2 months ago, or maybe people that are a part of the project but didn't jump on the meeting want to understand what was said. This is really cool to display in your CRM and be able to see what happened. So if I come and I'll show you how this actually populated into our CRM. If I come down to meetings, you'll see here we've seen April 6. The participants are empty, but what you'll see is we have the summary, we have the action items, and we've got the meeting URL right here if we want to view it in Firefly's application. So this is posted into our own internal CRM, which is all hosted on one platform and all synced with an AI, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's how that's worked. So what's happened is it's come to the AI agent. In this case, it has all 3 of the previous inputs that I defined before. So we're using GPT-4o as the model, 4o mini, sorry. We're using our Pinecone vector store as our knowledge base. Now, what this is it's basically a vector database that has all of our company's key information in it. So that's things like all of the meetings that have been completed, all of our projects, all the tasks that are in the projects. It has all this information about developers and designers and employees. It has information about all of the quoting and proposals that we've sent out, our clients and leads list. All that information is in there. And when we provide that to our AI agent, it allows the AI agent to actually accurately understand our company and be able to use that information to generate responses that are more in line with our company's data. The way I'm envisioning conclusion explaining how vector database works is a lot of companies have AI agents and they hear all the hype about AI and they want to integrate it into their business. But I would think of AI as your new intern. On day one, if you don't have a knowledge storage or a knowledge base to provide to your AI agent, it's a bit like having your intern in the company on day one. They're not really familiar with exactly how your company works. They might be able to do things like write a proposal document, but they're not going to be able to populate it accurately trained on your company's data because they're not really familiar with your company's processes, the projects that your company's working on, and all of that information. Because it's day one. It's the same thing with an AI agent. If you fail to have a really well-stored database of all of your company's information in what's called a vector database, there's a limit to how much your AI agent can do because it doesn't know enough about your company. So that's how I kind of explain how the vector storage works. And if you want to learn more about that, I can explain how we build custom CRMs all in one location with data that's automatically synced to a vector database. So all of your company data is automatically up there and can be used for AI agents. But I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. Now, what happens is we get all this information and we pass it to Pinecone to query whether or not an existing project exists with the participants of this meeting. Now, the reason we do that is because in our internal CRM tool, we have what's called workspaces, and we have a number of different projects that we work on. And within each project, we have this meetings tab. And the purpose of this is so that we can come in and see all of the meetings broken down into projects, all in one central location. And the way we do that is this is how we assign that to the right project in our CRM. Now, obviously in this scenario, there were no participants, so there's no way for us to link it to a particular project because there's no participants. But usually we can do that because we store our clients' emails and those emails will be returned in this vector storage response. Now, the next step there is to create a meeting in our internal CRM. So we create a meeting and we pass a number of different variables. We pass the transcript URL, which is really the URL to this page in Fireflies, so we can see all that information. We pass a meeting summary, meeting ID, a company. Now you don't have to worry about that field. Meeting participants and action items and notes. So this is what we're creating a meeting essentially, which is what's showing this. Which is what this actually is. Now we can assign it to a project in our internal CRM if we want to, and we can also add members to view this meeting. So if you're an executive, for example, you sit on a meeting and there's certain things that your developers possibly or doesn't really need to see it on the project, you don't need to assign them. But if you jump on a meeting and you want some members of your staff to be able to access that meeting even though they weren't on it, this is what this members section does. It assigns certain users to that meeting so they can view the meeting and be able to understand what's happening. Now, once we've created the meeting, we then do two things. Now, this is specific to our CRM and you may not need to do this, but what we do is we check whether a project exists with the email. So we have an if statement here and we go, if the query, the Pinecone vector search, returned responses for the emails that were sent in the clients category of our vector database, that means that a client exists that was on the meeting. So we want to assign the meeting to that project. And that's what this step does. If the project exists, send them here. Now, if we haven't created a project with that client, we then do a check whether or not it's a lead. So sometimes we might jump on a regular project, catch up with a client, and we want it to get assigned to that project. But if it's an early stage client and they haven't actually started a project with us yet, and they're a lead, what we'll do is we'll check for leads and we'll actually just add the meeting summary as a note on that lead in our CRM. So if you come back to a CRM, you come down to leads, for example, and we look at this lead, you'll see there's notes down the bottom here. So on this lead, we're just going to be seeing the notes and that's where that information will be stored. So that is how this automation works. So that's step 2, which is setting up an automation to grab meetings from somewhere like Fireflies.ai, grab the transcript, use an AI agent to generate useful action items, summaries from the transcript, and then post those into your CRM tool as a meeting, along with the link to the Fireflies meeting and all that kind of information. So you can easily kind of store that data. And then there's an added automation on there to assign it to a possible project or possibly to a lead in your CRM. Step 3 is to explore further automation from here. Now, this is the gateway into serious automation using your company's meetings. The next steps you could do are build AI agents with a number of different tools to do things like create tasks in your tasks board, do things like automate creating proposals. For example, if you're on a sales call, you've done an hour-long sales call or discovery call, and you want to generate a process or a summary document, you could build an AI agent for that. So this is stage one. Stay tuned for stage two, because we're going to be powering this up and adding a number of different agents to come into our board and do things like create proposals where necessary, and also build tasks onto our task board. So if you come in here and you look at our tasks, for example, you'll see we've got a task board, and we want to be able to automatically create tasks in here based on what's discussed in a meeting if necessary. So this is the beginner step to getting some sort of AI automation set up. From here, we can really build some super powerful automations that are going to prevent us wasting a whole lot of time revising, recapping meetings, building documents that we're already discussing on a meeting and should really just be automatically generated with AI. Now, to summarize all of this, I want to quickly touch on what I was talking about before with your company's knowledge base. Now, if you're watching this video and you work at a company where your data is strewn across all sorts of different places, you've got some things in Google Drive, you've got some things spread out across a number of SaaS tools and CRM platforms, and you've got some things that are sitting local on people's computers that nobody really has access to aside from those people. And that is going to be a problem, and it's really going to hurt you in this new wave of AI, which is coming in the next few years, where you will need to have easily accessible data, preferably centralized in one location, because that's going to be the difference between creating AI agents that can actually do useful tasks and at an accuracy level that's equal to or better than a human doing those tasks. The alternative to that is building AI agents that are not trained very accurately on your company data and are bringing all sorts of weird information into their outputs, and they're not doing exactly what you're looking for them to do. And it's really going to hurt your business when you try and adopt these sort of AI automation processes. So step one, before really doing too much of this at all. Now, in this case, you can set this up without the vector database, but you will need to start to think about ways in which you can incorporate some sort of vector database into your company's existing data, and possibly exploring building an internal tool or a CRM off of these expensive plug and play SaaS platforms and onto a centralized platform where a lot of your data can be kept in the same place. And in that sense, it's then really easy to manage that connection with your AI's knowledge base to be able to build really cool AI automations across all the different aspects and faculties of your business to really take advantage of this new AI automation wave. Now, that pretty much sums up this video, but if you found it somewhat interesting and you want to learn more about AI, how to build really cool AI automations, or how to build internal software CRM tools using low-code platforms and be able to build them all in one location, feel free to join my completely free community, which is the link in the description, and subscribe and follow me for more, because I'm going to be bringing out a lot of cool new videos on how you can automate your business and make the most of this new AI wave. Appreciate you taking the time, and take it easy.